IAB Tech Lab is a technical standards organization for digital advertising. So we work on providing standard specifications that help parties in the programmatic supply chain integrate with each other and do things like fight fraud in the ecosystem.
Now, in the past, you've done a lot of work with other kinds of platforms like mobile and digital display. Now with CTV, what kind of learnings are you bringing to CTV that from these other platforms?
We absolutely have lessons learned from other platforms like web and mobile that we bring with us to CTV. Some of those things that we've learned come from our standards. So something like one of our most widely adopted standards is ads.txt, Authorized Digital Sellers. And that helps publishers really say who's allowed to sell their inventory in the complex ecosystem of the programmatic supply chain. And so one of the first things, to think about was going into a new channel like CTV. How do we adopt a standard that we know works super well and we'll see the same problems in the CTV environment? And how do we just bring that with us? And that was definitely one of the first things we did 2 or 3 years ago as CTV started advancing.
And aside from that standard, are there any other tools out there for increasing transparency and maintaining trust in connected television?
There are definitely tools available today in the standards organizations to help fight fraud in CTV. Some of those are ads.txt. App-ads.txt was adopted to have some specific features for the CTV environments. We also have a standard called ads.cert, and it's called Authenticated Connections, is really a server-side ad insertion or SSAI specific initiative. And so this helps with adding a layer of cryptographic security to messages that are sent server to server. So those are a little bit harder to make sure that you know exactly who is sending that message and be able to authenticate that the right person is telling you, hey, this impression actually happened. And obviously that's something that billing can happen against. So it's something really important in fighting fraud to make sure that you're receiving a notice of impression or a notice of billing from an authenticated party. And that's really what the Authenticated Connection standard helps with.
Now, when you look at the supply chain, do you see any weaknesses or gaps that need to be addressed?
I think that we're definitely always looking to stay ahead of the fraudsters or make sure that we are ongoingly being vigilant. And so there are definitely additional things that we want to do to help in the CTV environment. But I'll also note that IAB Tech Lab just unveiled a new 3-year sort of roadmap and North Star towards what we're calling advanced television, which really brings together a lot of other forms of television that we think about, not just sort of the connected TVs, but bringing in some linear, the fast channels, different types of digital and digital media. And there's a lot to do there. Just a lot of technologies and standards used in other forms of television to take a look at and to continue to work on. And so we have definitely our hands full with a lot of that. So where are the gaps still between sort of where we want to be and where we are today? I think that we have tremendous opportunity in the CTV environment in really thinking about more than just connected TVs and thinking about what does advanced TV mean. And IAB Tech Lab has recently unveiled a new 2 to 3 year roadmap with a lot of work in sort of that space. What does it mean to be advanced TV? What type of specifications are already working there? And what can we do to potentially enhance those specifications with an eye towards making sure that we can increase the transparency and authentication available?
Well, looking ahead, let's say to the next 6 months to a year, is there anything that viewers should be aware of? Anything that you're anticipating? Anything that you'd like to see, perhaps something on your wish list? Like, what do you think happens next?
I think one of the standards that our cryptographic security group is working on right now is something called authenticated devices. And I think this is critical in CTV and fighting fraud there, because what it really does is look at the opportunity when someone is buying a CTV impression, there's an opportunity for misrepresentation. CPMs for CTV are definitely higher than things like mobile. And so maybe a mobile phone wants to pretend that it's a CTV device to get a higher CPM. That's absolutely fraud and absolutely something that we can try and build a standard to protect against. And so there is work going on in our cryptographic security working group for an authenticated devices standard in the future.